Hello Armchair Aviators, welcome to the next edition of AvGeek Week with me, Rich Cooper. The show brings together all of the latest news and interesting stuff from out there in our beloved planet AvGeek into one place. I appreciate that not everyone is on social media, and especially now it can be quite a scary place to be, yet news is still happening and I've brought it all together for you here in one bite-sized chunk of awesomeness. Let's roll. Okay, here we go with the AvGeek Week. Let's roll. So commercial aviation first of all, and civil ops for good. This is good to hear Virgin Atlantic getting some praise. They've come through a bit of a tough time at the moment, especially their Australia subsidiary having filed for voluntary bankruptcy. But I wanted to highlight a particular flight that the airline had undertaken. Probably one of the longest ones ever to be undertaken, in fact. One of its Boeing 777s flew nearly 20 hours straight between Paris and Brisbane, left with 144 tonnes of fuel and landed with just 6 tonnes left after flying nearly 10,000 kilometres. This is to do with the repatriation of Australian citizens back to their home country in the middle of the COVID crisis. So fair play to them for that one. Next up we have a positive MAX move, would you believe? The 737 MAX being one of the particularly bad, sad stories of our current aviation time, even before COVID struck. But it's interesting to see that Delta are looking to swap their 717s over for the 737 MAX when all this is over. Definitely one to watch. Next up we have Classics Park. Now it's obviously debatable whether you could call an A340 a classic type, but certainly this is one of the more charismatic out there, certainly from my point of view anyway, as a photographer. I really enjoy shooting them. So it was sad to hear that in amongst all of the Boeing 747s being parked at the moment, you've also got Airbus A340s being parked. So Lufthansa is one of the last major airlines flying the type in any numbers, and it's parked its Dash 600s, the really super long version, at an airfield over in Spain and waiting for better times. Again, we hope that's not a permanent move, but certainly they're out of action, all 17 of them for the moment. Next up we have testing resuming on the Boeing 777X, a super interesting airliner this. It's actually the longest, widest wingspan ever produced on a Boeing airliner, or anything out of Boeing factory in fact, in its entire existence. The aircraft's going to be known as the Dash 8 and the Dash 9, but for the moment it's the 777X, and it actually got a range of over 14,000 kilometres, which is just over 8,500 miles. And its wingtips, I don't know if you can see on the shot over there, but it's actually able to be folded up. So because the aircraft's wings are so wide and so long, to help with vortices creation and fuel efficiency and everything else that you'd expect from such a wide wing. But when it lands, it can't necessarily get onto the stand at the airport. So after the aircraft touches down, it automatically folds the wings upwards. It's going to be certainly very interesting to watch, and the certification of that one. But it's resumed testing after a month on the ground. Those gorgeous, beautiful retro liveries that came out over the last couple of years. There's a real trend in the aviation industry that, again, as a photographer, I was particularly loved seeing. They were gorgeous, really beautiful, reversing the trend of just boring white fuselages. So many airlines subscribe to this, and the good guys at airportspotting.com have produced an indispensable list of every airline that's done one, what livery it's in, and where you can see them. So obviously that's not advocating getting out there and doing it now, but it's certainly something to look forward to when all of this is over. Cancellation policies. Obviously, as we know, everything's being cancelled and flights are being held over or cancelled or withdrawn, etc., etc. So each airline is tending to respond to it very differently, and I hope to bring you a dedicated program on that coming soon with our travel counsellors department. But TripAdvisor has put together a very detailed list of every single airline that operates out there with their specific cancellation policy. It's on their blog site and the tripadvisor.com/blog. These absolute beasts are flying around. We've seen lots of Russian monsters flying around all over the world, actually, using their incredible cargo capability to transfer medical supplies around the globe. Starting from April the 22nd, Antonov Airlines will be using its AN124 across various destinations in the States. And from later on in May, the giant AN225, the Myria, the Dream, will also be joining it on those stateside runs. So there's a list there of Orlando, Houston, Washington and Los Angeles. Again, this is not about getting out there to go and see them, but it's actually pretty cool to watch these things on flight radar, etc., and seeing their track of flight. This was a pretty incredible sight. One of the other Russian monsters out there, the Volga-operated IR-76s. They're very busy. There's a shot there from the Gander airport. on the ramp at sunset as these aircraft were flying from Europe over to various different destinations in the States. And this particular one, unmistakably, landing at St. Martin's Airport, Prince Juliana. Famous beach where these jets just come in so incredibly low, and that aircraft caught on its flight from Netherlands via Gander. That particular one is Beek's photos, and I've got a couple of others to show you here which are going to blow you away. Look at that, incredible sight just over the beach there. I mean, this is a very famous beach anyway, but to see that kind of aircraft at that height over the beach is remarkable. Obviously, what's also remarkable is the beach is empty compared to what it's usually like. And this particular shot is incredible again from Lee Wilson of Heli via Aero News. This one just an unbelievable sight. So just let that sink in for a couple of seconds there while I go to the next item. Here we go. The AN-22, what a beast that is. So obviously, again, operated by Antonov Airlines. These are just incredible, incredible sights. And there's only one of these flying at the moment, and there's hope for some more. But yeah, this is truly one of the most magnificent aeroplanes out there in the commercial aviation world, in my humble opinion. And the guys at Aero News pulled out some video and photography from its trip to Burgas Airport in Bulgaria, and got the pleasure of bringing you that sight and sound now. Stunning. Bit of a sadder sight, this one. Again, we know this is happening all over the world with airliners being parked up and airlines themselves really struggling. But this guy in particular, Wolficorn, on YouTube, did a flight over Victorville in his. He's a private pilot, and he's filmed the sites over Victorville, one of the storage yards in America, and is available on YouTube to look. I thoroughly recommend having an actual proper look.
Wow. This is insane. I don't even want to know how many billions of dollars of jets are down there.
Truly remarkable. Okay, this is one of the most significant orders announced in recent times for a European Air Force. The Luftwaffe has gone for a mixed fleet of Growlers and Super Hornets and Typhoons to replace its Tornado fleet. It's going to be incredible seeing these new jets in Luftwaffe markings. There's going to be a massive fleet, 30 Super Hornets, 15 Growlers and 93 Eurofighters. As I say, replacing the Tornado ECR, ICS fleet and the early Tranche 1 Eurofighters. Look forward to that one. Carrying on with military aviation, the Grim Reapers are reaping the rewards. The 493rd Squadron at Lakenheath, the Liberty Wing, for the fourth year running has been awarded the prestigious Raytheon Trophy for the finest air superiority squadron in the US Air Force. Other US Air Force news, the 354th Fighter Wing at Eielson Air Force Base, Alaska, is the latest to receive the F-35. Interesting, in they've actually got some low-vis markings on the tail on these ones as well, with the first of 54 jets touching down earlier this week. The USAF also did one of their mass projection force exercises when one of the B-1s from Ellsworth Air Force Base flew over to Japan, hit a range locally where it met up with 6 US Air Force F-16s, 7 Japan Air Force F-2s, or Self-Defense Force F-2s, and 8 Japan Air Self-Defense Force F-15s to conduct the mission. Quite an air power sight. The US Navy, I said earlier last week about the tensions between the Russian interceptions of US Navy P-8s. There's actually footage come out now of this particular incident, which the US described as another unsafe intercept. Here we go. Getting super close. And that's, latest in a long stream of such incidents, which continue to be very interesting to observe. This was an interesting observation. So footage has also emerged of a Chad Air Force Su-25 Frogfoot accidentally loosing off a missile on its ramp at Njema. Here we go. Duck when you're ready. And there she goes. Unbelievable. It wasn't. I believe there were some casualties, unfortunately. But yeah, quite an accident. It's not not the first and last time this has happened either. So yeah, real flight safety issue, and it's incredible that it was actually caught on camera. Over in China, this guy's well worth following, and like I say, with the AvGeek week, we tend to highlight particular accounts on social media that are well worth following, and Andreas Ruprecht is a real authority on all matters from China. He's tweeted this week about the first few clear images of the grey FC-31 V2 demonstrator, and I've also included a couple of other shots just from a very last couple of days worth of images that he uncovers over in the from the Chinese military. It's a fascinating account to follow. That's Andreas Ruprecht. Show stuff. Changing tack now. So there was a really amazing effort done this week for a socially distant virtual air show. Took place the brainchild of the Show Center podcast team of US commentators to raise funds for the ICAS Foundation, which raises money for show acts, etc. and everyone related to the show industry that obviously is losing a lot of income at the moment. Really good cause. The event was free to watch and live streamed on Live Airshow TV's Facebook and YouTube channel. So they're the three guys at the top there that ran it and commentated on all of the happenings of the 3-day air show. It was incredible, and there was warbirds, there was military stuff, there was civilian acts. It was very, very amazing. It was really engaging to watch. And what was also great, I particularly enjoyed the way that the air crew were able to talk about their act. And some case, do a specific COVID type act. They were warming up in their garden, etc. And then went off and flew it as well. And the commentary that came through was very informative. I thought it was very well done indeed. And certainly, I don't think it'll be the last that we see of such virtual air shows. Obviously, we see down the bottom there is our Vader from the Belgian Air Force F-16 demo. And I thought I'd give you a little flavour of what the actual virtual air show showed as he did his performance.
That kind of wingtip smoke, and that is unique around the world.
Look at how beautiful he makes it as he spirals.
The American commentary particularly being infused by the flares, which obviously we don't get to see that often in the UK, but when we do, it's a real treat. And certainly over in the States, they do it at some military airfields, and of course over in Europe, it's a bit of a flare fest. So we can only hope to see more of that again in the future.
He can't be in the air all that long, certainly not coming up on 18 or 20 minutes like we're used to seeing perhaps in North America. Short display, very loud, and it's on and off stage and leaves you wanting more, and very, very impressive. A lot of showmanship coming from our Belgian solo display again, the F-16 Dark Falcon.
Dark Falcon there with Vader showing his unique capability of taking us really inside the cockpit. He's a fantastic photographer himself, really knows how to put on a show, and great crowd interaction as well. But actually the footage that he comes back with after a display, whereas the 360 camera where you're able to look around his entire show, is phenomenal, and did a great job on that virtual air show. Talking of which, he's just announced his new tail art. He's released a couple of photographs there saying he hopes to obviously be able to show it to us in real life very soon. And continuing over with the show's theme in the States now, the US Air Force Thunderbird team, they've recognised that obviously the frontline workers needed a bit of a boost for morale, and performed some really cool flypasts over various cities, the first one being in Colorado at the start of the month, and that led to some very interesting developments. First of all, there was rumours of something special going on with the Thunderbirds having arrived at Pensacola, which is the home of the US Navy display team, the Blue Angels. And then, of course, we saw footage of them actually arriving. Slow motion caught on the beautiful beaches around Pensacola. Excited to be there now. But that certainly heralded the start of something very special, and those two teams are going to join together for a series of flypasts over key states and key landmarks and key cities to thank the frontline workers over in the States. They continue to do an amazing job. Another virtual event this weekend is actually flagged up by the Vintage Aviation Echo, a fantastic resource for all things vintage aviation. The Wings TV channel will be reliving flying legends all weekend. So my recommendation is you watch the channel, have a look at what they're doing, and then also read the Vintage Aviation Echo's reports on flying legends, because those guys really know their stuff. And the finest. One of the finest events in the Warbird calendar, It's got a lot of competition, but one of the finest certainly is Le Fertelet over in France. And they just announced their 2020 dates, being the 29th and 30th of August. And, you know, we all really hope that that, of course, happens. Lots of fingers being crossed, but I couldn't resist showing that the beautiful artwork they produce for their shows just because it had just been announced, and one we certainly hope to be able to visit later in the year. Fingers crossed. And to finish on the show stuff, how could we forget a sigh of nostalgia? It could be a sight of nostalgia, but a real sigh of nostalgia. Yes, it had its issues, the Vulcan, we all know that, but we did get to hear it and see it. And this video emerged on social media. No one really knows where it specifically came from, but it's certainly being shared around now, and it's just a reminder of what we had and in the sight and the sound of the incredible XH558. Here we go. Impressive stuff. Doesn't quite roll it. Maybe that happened another day. Who knows? Okay, get your geek on. Time for the real AvGeek stuff. Anyone for a Nikon mask out there from the Bandana Club? We've got Jastef F4 book by Koji, a superb Japanese photographer. Available through us at COAP. We've got some spare copies of that. The print run's finished. If you'd like to do that, just send me an email at rich@centreofaviationphotography.com. We'll do our best to get it out to you. I can send you some more details as and when you email. Also, we given a heads up by David Jones, one of COAP's travellers. There's Cold War education programme just been released. It's an entire 5 or 6 week online learning course from the Cold War, delivered by Future Learning in partnership with the Royal Holloway and the RAF Museum. And it's actually a free course. You just participate online, learning all about the Cold War, and there's also an upgrade to get even more information out of it as well. So it's a real kind of like online qualification you can get in the Cold War, so to speak. Very good stuff. Kits on the wall. Look at that. That's actual Airfix kits, etc. Other kits are available, but they're flat packed in and framed onto a wall. Absolute genius idea from a Ukrainian company called hobby.dn. Have a look at that on Facebook or the internet. Get your geek on some more Top Gun tees. There's Zero Foxtrot. I produced these 3 new t-shirts with the classic Top Gun helmets and featuring a skull, interestingly, but I kind of dig it. I think it's pretty cool. And our friends at Ultimate High, these guys are based at Goodwood, and there's a fantastic way to blast off those aviation cobwebs as soon as this is all over. Thoroughly recommend booking on one of their Top Gun combat missions, so you can actually strap in an ex-military aircraft with ex-military fighter pilots and fly some real combat manoeuvres. They've offered a 10% off anyone watching this using the code COAP10. Just put that on the site when you join up, and yeah, you get 10% off, and you can really blast those AvGeek cobwebs off as soon as this is all over. COAP stuff. It won't be long. We've got some really cool merchandise coming. There's the first one's the key rings, the shoot, edit, repeat COAP online stuff. Loads of ideas coming up on that, and yeah, I just wanted to give you a little teaser. Not quite ready yet, but they certainly will be soon. We've got patches coming and all sorts of prints and galleries and everything else for you to look at as well, so watch out for that one. Planet AvGeek time. Okay, so we kind of guessed this might happen, but it's still sad to hear, right? NATO Tiger meeting in Portugal has been cancelled, but there is a silver lining. It's going to be 2 events next year. We're going to just roll over the Portuguese one into May 2021, and there's also going to be then a second event in September as well. So, and that will be in Belgium, this one. So yeah, although it's a cancellation, everyone kind of expects it's the right thing to do, but we have got a lot to look forward to. Next up on Planet AvGeek, you may have seen some of the news recently around Bruntingthorpe, the uncertainty there as the car business grows and grows at this airfield. All those classic jets are stored and kept taxiable, kept alive. There was a statement released, and if you look at the current edition of Aeroplane Monthly, there's the full details there, and there's a statement on bruntingthorpe.com/aviation. But basically, the owner of a lot of the site has sold it off onto into the car business, and yeah, it does seem doom and gloom, but it really might not be too bad. Yes, the worst that could happen is that obviously the taxiing stuff gets less and less, and it may now be obviously impossible to do so because of the amount of cars that are going to be there. But the owner, Dave Walton, is working really hard to try and, or the ex-owner, Dave Walton, is working really hard to try and relocate all of the Cold War Jets Museum and all of those precious aircraft into a new hangar. And the LPG guys are reliably told that they're pretty safe at the moment. They're not on the land that's been sold as such. So there's pockets of land within Bruntingthorpe that aren't affected, and we hope that all of those jets can be relocated and kept safe. But it's pretty uncertain for those guys, but it's not completely over yet. Elsewhere, we've got the Canon R5. It's been called the most exciting camera anyone has released in over a decade. Good grief. 5-axis in-body stabilisation, 4K, 120 frames a second, and no crop on 8K with a CMOS continuous autofocus. It's a beast. Sony, never one to rest on its laurels. Not sure where I sit on this, but it's painted at a multi-lens concept, which means you could take the photograph and then focus the photograph afterwards. So I don't know where I stand on that really, but I might need some help. You never know. I usually do. But yeah, being able to take a photograph and then fine-tune the focusing afterwards through the multi-lens concept, that's quite something. One to watch. We all saw the amazing achievements of Captain Tom, the 99-year-old who walked around his garden and raised a phenomenal millions and millions of pounds for the NHS workers recently. What an absolute hero. And the good guys at Big and Hill are looking to do a flypast over the top of various sites, including obviously where he lives for his 100th birthday, which is next week. And good luck on that one. Heard as well that the Spitfire may be featuring an NHS logo for the event, so watch out for that. Wishful thinking here. Clever bit of Photoshop from Craig Sluban on the official Fighter Control Facebook page. NHS flypast of typhoons. We can only dream. This was an interesting one that came up. Val Kilmer has been interviewed by Sky News, and he actually said that he didn't want to be part of Top Gun. He was forced into doing it by his agent. He deliberately tried to sabotage the audition, and then obviously the rest is history. We know it went fantastically well, and he's one of the stars of the original 1986 film. So much so that he actually then begged to be part of the sequel that's coming out in December. So classic. Talking of Top Gun, this chap, highlighted by Airshow 360, is the story of Chef Pitts. He's actually bought a Hornet, a Legacy Hornet there, and painted it up in full accurate Maverick Top Gun colours, and he's purchased the Maverick helmet, ready to tour air shows and just get some amazing selfies. It's pretty much the ultimate selfie experience in my book. Talking of selfies, look at that, just to show that another... the US Air Force this time is taking life not so seriously in putting U-2 pilots up there, staying safe with masks on in space. And this was classic. So this came out on Twitter, and one for when we can travel again. Certainly, you need to remember to watch what's in your case, and definitely leave those apps activated. I do not know where this was, but I don't really want to be going there. Unbelievable. This guy's actually taking it. I mean, they're all still alive. I'd be gone by now. That's it. that would be, giving me nightmares for weeks. Onto some photography. What a shot from Steve Lewis on Facebook. This was awesome. An action shot of an F8 Bearcat screaming around the corner with the wings over Camarillo. Beautiful shot. I mean, that's a really hard shot to get sharp, and that is razor sharp and just conveys such fantastic action. I absolutely loved it. Well done, Steve. Good job. CJ, a long-term friend of mine, is a specialist down in South Africa. He posted some photographs on the Creative Aviation Photography group on Facebook. Well worth getting stuck into that. It's a good community of guys and some stunning photography. But look at what he's produced there. It's gorgeous. The Colombian Air Force Kafirs, the AN-32, the P-3 from Chile. Just stunning work as always, CJ. Well done. Well done. And Jake Malampy. This guy's been flying with the US military for a long time, but this one particularly caught my eye for two reasons. That light, I understand it was very early in the morning shoot, this one, but also it's a Phantom. Yes, I recorded this on Phantom Friday, but who cares? Any day can be a Phantom day with shots like that. Max D'Amelio of Italy, he took out some real wonders this week. He's a pride in meeting the legend that is Colonel Ben Rich. And he actually got some images published in one of his books, and I couldn't resist just pulling these out for special attention, because we've all looked down that view, we've all looked down that runway at Fairford, and just imagine that, just seeing that coming towards you. What we wouldn't give to see that again now, eh? And of course, blasting out of the show afterwards, just absolutely magic. Look at those burners, incredible. Good job, Max. The aircraft of the Cold War in 1947 to 1991 is another interesting Facebook group. Get stuck into it. Some awesome history stuff come out of that. Like this 92 Squadron flight line RAF Gütersloh in 1976, posted by Rick Brindle. Just, you can get lost in that shot, as you can on so much of that Facebook group. It's brilliant. Awesome to watch. Love this shot. Vandy 1 Tomcat. Oh, fighter pictures on Twitter unearthed this. I'm not too sure where it is. It might be Miramar looking at the buildings, but the precious Vandy 1 of VX9 taxiing back, wing swept after a mission. Doesn't get much better than that. Oh, to have a time machine for that one. Just if Phantom no video would be complete without some more Phantom from Japan news. So there's been some really good footage released over the years of the last Phantoms in Japan. This one I particularly like. Why? Because it's got some interesting views from behind the scenes. You don't very often get to see the pilot side in Japan. It's very hard to access that. So going behind the scenes in the squadron buildings and including footage of air-to-air stuff, but also the air-to-ground of the recce jets using their cameras to perform their reconnaissance mission over Japan. This was a really good inclusion. So have a look at this taster and look up this guy on, it's Banapple, I think it's pronounced, on YouTube. Superb. AvGeek of the week. I will get out of the way for this one so you can see that gorgeous flight line of MiG-23s. Chosen Rob Archer this week. The legend that is Bob has been beavering away furiously at his real labour of love, the book on the US Air Force enigmatic 55th Fighter Wing Offutt and its fleet of C-135s. Some of the most secretive Boeings out there. Entitled Snooper Snoopers, it promises to be a real authority on the subject, with the proofreading phase was recently completed in the last couple of days. It's published by Fonthill and available soon. Bob's, in the meantime, in between producing this book, he's been scouring his old slides and scanning them. Haven't we all? I believe it's pretty good pastime. I've yet to do some of mine yet, but I've really enjoyed what you've been up to. And this was taken in Hungary during a press visit as the nation started to become interested in becoming part of NATO. So we're greatly enjoying your work, Bob. Always have done. Keep it up, and we look forward to your latest book. Congrats. And that's it. That's it for the AvGeek week this week. I hope you enjoyed it and endeavour to do another one next week. Take care.